a very interesting article.
That's a good title.
Yeah, you can have it. I read
I'll
it.
take that one. Is that the Washington?
But it's,
What is it? What article? What magazine? I don't know that.
I don't know. I just get it in the mail and it's some conservative.
I never heard of it. Somebody still writes
But it-
paper copies of stuff.
Yeah, but it's really a very interesting concept that instead of thinking, young people are just picking their phone open.
I can tell when I used to work on vehicles how hard I had to work to solve a problem, and I do go to the phone and say, how do I do this? It saves you time, but you don't learn anything.
Yeah.
It's like you learn a shortcut in math, but you don't understand the concept.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Understand
The concept.
the concept.
Which is important.
Go ahead and call this evening's meeting to order, Tuesday, September 24th, for the regular meeting for Chambersburg Area School Board Board of Directors. Please rise, thank you, Chris, for a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Prior to this evening's meeting, the board met in executive session to discuss personnel and legal matters. And also last week, the board had a workshop, and I'll talk about that in a minute in my president's report. But we met the week before last in a workshop as well. Item 2.03, motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Walker, second by Mr. Haydock. Questions, discussions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Ayes have it and so moved. 3.01, Mr. Bigger, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President. I do want to throw the microphone over to Kurt, Mark, Tina, or Tammy. I believe a couple of you have a few comments, just announcements and accolades. Yes, no? And then I have a few items after they're done.
Yes, just real quickly, mine's real quick. I'd just like to recognize that tomorrow is National Food Service Worker Day. So if you see some of our hardworking cafeteria folks, please say thank you to them.
I'd like to say thank you for the Hall of Fame Committee. They brought out the Hall of Fame, Athletic Hall of Fame this past weekend on Friday. The inductees were honored at the football game, and then on Saturday there was a banquet and presentations there as well. So please make sure that you come to the high school for a game at this end of the basketball field house. There's the area where the Hall of Fame is at. I'm going to also like to say that tomorrow evening, don't try to go on McKinley because we're having a homecoming parade. So it starts up at Cam South and comes down through and ends at the big, large parking lot. So please come out and support all the classes and all the schools. It starts at 6.
Also want to echo what Dr. Long was saying about the Hall of Fame, specifically the committee, but 3 people put a lot of work that our employees, Cindy Myers, the secretary, to the athletic director, of course, Sean Kimple and Corey Daly, were very instrumental in making that come to fruition. It was great to see all of our athletes come back and their families and to have a little bit of fellowship before the game and hearing a lot of stories. So it was a great evening.
I have a few comments. I do want to thank all the participants at the public forum last night. About 76 people attended, 5 board members, about 46 questions, over an hour and a half. So thank you for coming out, being engaged, asking questions, and wanting to know. I was very appreciative of the audience. We were taking somewhat bets on the inside of how many people would attend, and we were beaten because so many people did attend. So the next forum is September 21st. It's at Fayetteville, so hopefully we get similar attendance, and we'll continue the conversation. I've done 4 building faculty meetings so far. The tour continues through the next 3 weeks. So by the end of October, we'll have 2 forums completed. All the buildings will be updated on a very similar presentation. The Auditor General will be here this Friday at 9 a.m. to visit CAMS South, or I'm sorry, CMS, the Career Management School, to highlight the financial literacy course that's now required as of Act 35 from 2023. So we're happy to host. They wanted to get out to the schools to talk to the staff and the students. So it's a little PR for the district, but also in front of students. And then my last item, just around the social media threats from the last couple weeks across the state of Pennsylvania, across the country. We're going to work on a formal statement that'll come out hopefully from the local police, the state police, us, and really just push messages out. But I do want to highlight a topic for the parents and the guardians. And we're going to ask you to take a moment to educate your children on the seriousness of the words that they use, both in person and on social media. You know, a threat made as a joke in passing or comment can result in significantly altering the student's life. As we continue to do everything in our power to keep students and staff safe, we ask you to engage in tough conversations with your children. There are 2 things you can do proactively as a parent. 1, no student under the age of 13 should be on social media. I will continue, and hopefully we will continue to advocate for legislation to raise that age to 16 or older even. Secondly, monitor your social media activity of your children. And third, limit the content through settings on the app and limit overall screen time on devices to 1 hour for elementary, 2 hours for middle school, and 3 hours for high school. It's becoming a problem with resources and time. The amount of time, energy, and effort the state police, the local police, and our people are spending chasing down threats that are not credible, copycats, replications from other states, from other places, is getting to the point of frustration. We need your help. We're asking for your help, and that's all we can do is ask for your help. We will communicate more of the formalities of when we communicate a threat, how we communicate a threat, and under what circumstances. But I do want to thank the community for being patient, but ask for support from the parents and students on this very, very difficult topic. But we only get further if we do it together. So I'm encouraging you, I'm imploring with you to help us out. End of my report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bigger. President's report, I mentioned in the opening that the board met last week in a workshop. We wrapped up, for now, our work on board goals. We came up with 4 very good, I believe. I think it's probably a unanimous statement, but later any board member can speak to it if they wish. We did come up with 4 board goals. And we will have those out in public view in very near future. The one inherent goal that isn't on the list, and we don't think it needs to be because it is an inherent goal, and we talked about this as a board in the workshop. It's this fine line between governance and administration. You know, as the 9 plus Chris team of 10. Of course, Chris gets to do both, but 9 of the 10 of us, we are a governance board. We are not administrators. We employ, very qualified staff to do the administrative duties of running the district. And it's a very fine line, but it's a very important line. But one of those inherent board goals that isn't in the list, and it doesn't have to be because, again, it's inherent, and that is to support the district goals and establish goals for the superintendent. So there are other goals in addition to the board goals, but those goals are specific to the governance goals. They align with the district goals, and obviously then with the superintendent's goals. But they are separate, but the leading thing is to support the school district goals, and by law, we have to, evaluate Chris, and part of that are his goals as well. So I'd like to thank the board for their efforts. 2 members, Mrs. Gogler and Mr. Haydick, they did a lot of the heavy lifting with that. It was a very enjoyable session Tuesday last week. It was that, we were done ahead of time, and we just sat there and conversed a little bit afterwards. So it was a good time, and I thank the board for everyone's participation in getting this done. And now we'll move on to the business of governance. Item 3.03, Student Government NJROTC reports. All right, who wants to go first? Thank you.
Okay, I just want to say welcome back and thanks for joining us today. My name is Cadet Bridenstine, and I'm actually the former Cassius NJROTC Public Affairs Officer. I have here with me today Cadet Satut. He is the new Cassius NJROTC Public Affairs Officer. If you guys just want to skip forward about 1 slide. Yep, right there. I just want to say the Cassius NJROTC leadership team for 2024-2025 is going to be the Cadet Company Commander, Cadet Hollinshed, the Senior Chief Petty Officer, Cadet Rosenberry, the Cadet Executive Officer, Cadet Pollock, Operations Officer is going to be Cadet Lauer, and then our drill team commander is Cadet Alleman. Next slide, please. And then our goals for the new year is going to be to expand the interest and levels among all JROTC extracurricular teams, along with increased participation on each team, sustain incoming cadet numbers and recruiting efforts, and building up on camaraderie throughout the company, continuing to maintain the title of Distinguished Unit with honors. And next slide, please. The Death March 2024 occurred during the month of May. All the cadets in our company participated in a 7-mile hike up and over South Mountain. And then that's just like a quick photo of all of our cadets together. We did actually do all of that together. Nobody fell behind. It was just like a thing we really like to do at the end of the school year. Next slide, please. And then our summer leadership camps is going to be 17 of our cadets attended summer leadership camps, which tested their mental and physical abilities. These camps included Keystone Boys State and Girls State, State Police Youth Week, Spirit of America Youth Conference, instructional sessions with the Army National Guard, and then the Navy Leadership Academy. And then we thank the American Legion Post 46, the National Sojourners, and BPOE Lodge 600 for financially sponsoring our cadets. Next slide, please. And then the last slide I'm actually going to read today is going to be the opening physical training. And our physical training started for the 2024-25 school year. Cadets are working vigorously to maintain standards created for physical training through the NJROTC program. Now I'm actually going to pass it over to Cadet Satut, and he's going to finish out the slideshow.
Thank you. New cadet orientation on August 24th enabled first-year cadets.
Do it to the new guy.
Yeah.
You don't have it memorized?
Enable first-year cadets to learn about NJROTC program, participate in live physical training, learn some basic marching skills, and get fitted for their uniforms. 50 first-year cadets participated in this program. Firefighting Day. Johannesburg Fire Department partnered with our cadets who also serve as volunteer junior firefighters to sponsor a hands-on training experience in basic firefighting skills. 20 cadets participated in this program. Next slide, please. Basic leadership training occurred for the NS2s and above cadets from August 12th to 14th. This included cadets lead training classes, cadet-led PT session, and leadership seminars by the Naval Science instructors. The Cassius Cadet thanked the following community organization for providing lunches during our summer training schedule: AMVETS Post 224, American Legion Post 46, VFW Post 1599, BPOE Lodge 600, Jersey Mike's, Caches, and JRTC Booster Clubs. Next step, please. Chambersburg Cadets ran the 2024 Brinsker Awareness Run 5K and provided support group that handed out water bottles to runners and help tear down and set up the area. Next slide, please. Number of increased cadets. Due to last year recruiting efforts, we have a record high enrollment of 148 cadets, including 90 first-year cadets. New schools added to this year included Greencastle, Antrim, Waynesboro High School, James Buchanan, and Shippensburg. Next slide, please. Extracurricular team practices resume. All extracurricular teams resume practices in preparation for an aggressive schedule of competitions, included drill team, exhibition drill, marksmanship, academics, color guard, and drones. Any questions? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm from Caches Student Government. My name is Carly Skoltedi, and I'm our president. If you want to skip the next slide, skip that one. So this week is homecoming week. We are celebrating our 50th annual CASD homecoming. In the PDF you have access to, it just lists the activities that we are partaking in this week. Tomorrow is our parade, which formation starts at 5 o'clock at South. The parade starts at 6, and then right after, our Powder Puff teams will play at 7 o'clock at the Trojan Stadium. Next slide. And our dance is on Saturday, sorry. Our student government is planning on taking a field trip in November. We plan on going to the Harrisburg PA State Capitol building, and we plan on touring it. We also hopefully Hopefully we get to sit in on a session of the House of Representatives. That's something we've gotten to do before a couple years ago, so hopefully we get to do that again. Next slide, please. Fall sports. Fall sports are in the middle of their season, some towards the end, and our fall sports include boys and girls cross country, field hockey, boys and girls golf, girls tennis, girls volleyball, boy and girls soccer, football, and cheerleading. Any questions? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. CMS here. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sahir Morel, and I am one of the co-presidents of our Student School Board, and this is our Student School Board report. Next slide, please. So our list of items include homecoming, clubs, our first CMS Cares Day, graduation ceremony, college visits, and student government report. So for homecoming, we are, first of all, grateful for our partnership with Caches to be able to celebrate all together, to be able to partake in the parade, the dance, and all the other events that come included. This week we are taking part in a Spirit Week, so everybody can get all excited for homecoming and participate in school and out of school as well. This week we have started ticket sales, and we will be also having students in Saturday's homecoming dance. Next slide, please. So our clubs are up and running. This is just one of the posters for our many clubs that have started reuniting themselves. We have a large list of them, and we're looking forward to all the members and students that will be joining our variety of clubs. Next slide, please. So our first CMS Cares Day was a huge success. It was amazing. We had a lot of productive things to do, a lot of academic support. We also had lots of groups that did a cleanup outside and as well inside. I was part of the cleanup crew inside. I had to dust the stairs. It was great seeing students get involved, and I think that's all part of the title, the CMS Cares Day, not only doing things that are productive and contribute to our community, but also contribute to our school. Next slide, please. So 2 members of our DJ club DJ'd at the 2nd annual Children Walk to help raise funds for our CISD special education. Our DJ club is trying to get as involved as they can. We are kind of new, not so much, but every year we have new members that are learning how to DJ at our events. Next slide, please. So graduation ceremony, a lot of teachers wanted to make sure I put this on there. We are planning early, we're getting everything situated, so you know, not everything's like all rushed at the end. Next slide, please. And so we also have a lot of college visits. We had a good list of them. These are only some: Penn State, Thaddeus Stevens, Shippensburg. So our seniors can keep calm and apply ready to college. Next slide, please. Now, student government elections were held this past month. So we were tied for presidents. I was tied with Katarina Richardson, who is my co-president. Vice president is Katarina Richardson's twin sister, Madison Richardson. Our secretary is Destiny Spidel, and our treasurer is Braden Lehman. Any questions? This has been the end of my student government report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item 5.01 is privilege of the floor, where members of the audience are invited to comment on agenda items. As we've been doing, there was no one who marked it on the sign-in sheet, but that does not preclude you from making a public comment on an agenda item if you wish. So if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to do that, we'll just take turns. Yes, ma'am, come on up. Just be sure to give us your name and your address, since we don't. Yep. Actually, if your address is on here, you can just give us your name and you don't have to publicly announce it.
I don't think it's intended, so.
Oh, okay.
I have an agenda item and a non-agenda item. I'll speak to the agenda item. Will there be an opportunity be an opportunity for non-agenda items today, or?
Not today.
No.
Okay. All right, then I'll just speak to agenda item 10.02. As promised from several weeks ago, I'm sharing a chapter of a book. You can take one and pass it down. The book is titled The Anxious Generation, and the chapter that you're getting is what schools can do now regarding technology use. I appreciated hearing at the last meeting that the high school is taking steps to curb phone use in the classrooms, like setting them by the door upon entering the classroom. I believe there's so much power in a group of people who come together to participate fully without distractions. This lays fertile ground for student growth in our classrooms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, if you don't mind, just sign in and your address. You don't have to necessarily announce it, but we do need it just for the minutes, just for the public record. So that's quite all right. Thank you. Any other members of the audience wish to public comment on agenda items? Just a interim informational item. We stick with the agenda items at our second meeting of the month. That's why in this public comment, we ask the audience to keep it to the agenda items as a board, because we are focused on the action items this evening, whereas in the first meeting of the month at our committee of the whole meeting, that is more of an open and where we start discussing new items. That's mostly where we'll start hearing the new items, and that is a perfect opportunity for non-agenda items. And if it's something specific that a member of the public wishes to have added on an agenda or brought up, you don't have to wait for a public meeting. You can use any method you wish through your any school board member, or through the administrative staff. You don't necessarily have to wait for a public comment, but the public comment session is also always available. Okay. Any other takers for privilege of the floor? Okay, if not, we'll move to the consent agenda, item 7, which will be items 7.01 through 7.21, because 7.22 is what we're voting on. So we're voting, the actual is 7.22, which includes every one of the items. Again, we'll start, ask the question of any board members if there's any of these 21 items that a board member wishes to have separated. Now would be the time to do that, because once we have the motion and second and vote on it, we'll move on to item 10 after that. So are there any items 7.01 through 7.21 a board member wishes to pull out and have additional discussion or questions on?
I would like to ask that the asterisk items are pulled off and voted on as a block after there's an opportunity for discussion, since there was no opportunity at a committee of the whole. That would be 7.06, 07, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. It's not that I necessarily have any personal discussion, but I think the opportunity for presentation or discussion needs to occur for items that were not discussed at the committee of the whole.
Okay, so for this evening's meeting, in this first vote, we will vote excluding items 7.06, 7.07, and items 7.16 through 7.21. We will do those in a separate block next. So excluding those 7 items, do we have a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda items?
Is there 8 items? Is it 7, 8?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 items. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
My math ain't the best, but my wife calls me out on it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Diller, second by Mr. Raber. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. Do we want to go through these one at a time, or do you want to do them as a block of 8? If we do them as a block of 8, we can discuss any one of the individuals. I'll elaborate on this a little more when we get to the bottom of the information session, because I think we did talk about this previously. Just make sure we all have consensus. So do we have a motion to approve items 7.06, 7.07, and items 716 through 721?
Move to approve.
To approve them? To approve them?
We'll have a motion and a second, and then we'll discuss them.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. McKee, second by Mr. Raber. Questions, discussions on any items? Let's start with 706. Anyone questions or discussions on 7.06? About 7.07, or staff or administration, this is your opportunity too, if there's something in here that moves you to speak up on.
706, 707 are tied together. 706 we have first because that's the job description of the PBIS coaches at our elementary schools. And 707 is the list of folks that are working in those coach positions already starting this year. This is a 2-year grant that was part of the grant that gave us the DAO, the Bipartisan Safety Communities Act. We put that in the grant and they awarded this to us. So that's why we did an MOU in June with the CAEA, because it's only 2 years of stipends.
Thank you, Mr. Woodman.
I just want to thank Brian Miller and First Ed Credit Union for the sponsorship and the donations for such advertising. So appreciate your efforts, and also First Ed Credit Union.
Okay, 7.16.
That's a typical Hoffman Homes student that we are not placing. Someone else placed them, but they're our students, so we're responsible for them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Woodman. I won't ask the question, I'll just pause. So if anyone wants a question, has a question, jump in, please. 7.17, unique field trips.
These are two unique field trips, one for the drama club going to New York City, and then for the IB diploma students to go to the Mid-Atlantic Association of IB Schools College Fair. They're both out of state.
I think field trips are fantastic. I love when teachers take initiative on this kind of thing. I know it's a lot of work to go on the road with students, so I'll just express my appreciation on behalf of the board for those teachers that are taking a lead on these.
Okay. 7:18, music event scheduler.
This is a stipend position that would aid the high school band, chorus, and orchestra, but also the music department. There were many things that Mr. Wenner did while he was in that role of head teacher, but he retired and that head teacher role left. So there's just quite a few under the job description. You can see the many different things that this person would assist in the music department.
More of a comment that, and I was going to ask who did these duties before, but Dr. Long answered that. But as we've talked about the model moving forward, you know, of the head teacher roles and these coach positions, and repurposing funds, if you will, through different responsibilities, different job titles. So we move out of the head teacher role, but now we add a stipend in for someone else to do what the head teacher was doing before. So is there gonna be a lot of these ads as we move out of this, or can this be part of the new, you know, don't want to keep bolting on add-ons after add-ons here.
Correct. The head teacher stipend was also $11,000 compared to this $2,800. But as we go through the other items that we're looking at in the future, as far as department heads and things like that, then this could be absorbed within that role.
Okay.
But currently, we need some help.
We hope to have the batch of those to you in October in total. So hopefully we'll end at that.
Okay.
That's our goal, is to bring the whole comprehensive content supervisors in October.
With a nice flow chart
Sure,
that an engineer can read.
Just for you, we'll do a flow chart, yes.
Any other questions? 7.18. $7.19, bus bid. Mrs. Stauffer or Mrs. Stein?
Yeah, we're recommending the purchase of a 2023 72-passenger bus. It's a Bluebird from Brightville. The cost is $96,500, and this is budgeted in the transportation budget. It was interesting to note that we received bids from two companies, Brightville, and Wolfington, and there were, I believe, 21 buses that they actually were offering. This will be our first I cannot talk tonight. Our first gas bus that we have in the fleet. A lot of buses are moving from the diesel to gas, so.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Raber brought up a point some time ago when we were talking about buses. And I don't know, just for information, do you happen to know the cost of electric buses?
I think they're around 200,000.
Okay.
Looking at Bobby. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's higher as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that number. Let me swallow my chewing gum. Yeah, and the other thing that just jumped out at me is I see that the Brightville bus that you're recommending is a 23, use 23.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wolfington, one of them is a 22, year 22. The 22 has 5,000 miles less mileage, and it's a cheaper price.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose, you know, a year in age makes a difference.
Really, and I'll let Bobby talk then, but the difference between the Wolfington, the 2022, is it has hydraulic brakes and not the air brakes. This was also viewed by our mechanic, the diesel engine, or excuse me, the gas engine is something like I said he feels that we should look at doing. But I think the major difference was the hydraulics and the air brakes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll just say in regards to electric, I think you have to look at your ongoing costs for that to make sense. I just want us to keep paying attention to it. I think there will be a point in time where it will make sense to explore that more. And I think at the last time I brought this up as well, I think there were some federal grants that would cover a substantial portion of that. And then at that point, well, then it's an obvious, if we were to tap into those kinds of funds, it'd be a totally different ballgame. But yeah, you really have to do cost benefit analysis over a number of years for it to make any sense, given the high upfront cost.
It might be interesting to explore what's going on out on Coffee Avenue, where they have a large fleet of vehicles that are electric vehicles that have been trashed by the city of New York and Newark, New Jersey. I don't know details, but obviously it didn't work well in those cities.
Well, I think the technology can.
With a 5-digit number spray painted on the door.
No, they're not spray painted, they're burned in.
Oh, they're burned in? Wow.
Yes.
I think the technology continues to improve, right? And so and I'm no expert on this, right? So I don't know when the timing is right, but I think my encouragement is just to be learning about it and looking.
And I think if you study some districts, the buses couldn't finish the route. In some of the districts in Pennsylvania.
Now, that would not be a win.
No, I mean, the students would love it, I'm sure. But I think
Depends on where
there's a
you're
lot of
stuck.
research to do on it.
Yeah.
And that, plus, you just see where the car industry is starting, General Motors and Hyundai, starting to cut back the electric vehicles because they're just not a lot of people aren't getting them, and maybe there's some other reasons too. I'm not sure of that, but I just saw that in an article.
Not to mention the fact that these federal grants are taxpayer money. We're paying for it. There is nothing free.
Right. I mean, some district is going to get it. If we'd like to tap that, yeah.
Any other comments on bus bids? Okay, 720, third grade field trip revision.
We had a change because Kings Gap would only accept so many kids at a time, and we couldn't even take a whole school on one day. So we changed it to going to Gettysburg. So all third grade in our elementary will be going to Gettysburg, and it was in a previous approved list for what third grade goes on. So that's a change.
Used to be a rite of passage for fifth graders.
As a matter of fact, I'd like to thank you for that list of field trips that was in a recent board document, because I was not aware of where the field trips were. It was a very helpful listing. I also would like to suggest, as you consider other field trips, that you consider local history. The Fort Loudon, the Letterkenny Chapel. There's so many things in our local area that our students don't know about, adults don't know about. And so I'm not suggesting that any that you have are not good field trips. I'm just saying that local history, we've got so much here.
Right now, we're just doing one field trip per year, per grade. Is that right?
Up through 8th grade, pretty much, yes. They have all their field trips that they do. Now, some of the clubs will do separate field trips, especially once you get to the middle school, whether it's student government, maybe going to Harrisburg like what Caches is doing, and some other side trips with some of the clubs. But whole grade, pretty much up through 8th grade, they each have one.
And that's one just due to financial constraints and logistical challenges?
Yes, and the history, they chose this route many years ago to make it fair that, students, wouldn't, one school that maybe the PTA raises a ton of money, they don't go on a ton of trips versus another school that can't.
Sure.
So the principals worked with their teachers to select, different grade level events that they all can go on.
Just questioning, I'm assuming that probably the curriculum has been adjusted if this, for 3rd grade to go to Gettysburg, so that curriculum has been moved to 3rd grade?
They will. I believe is 5th grade still going on? Yeah, what they're doing is different than what the 5th grade is doing. I do know that.
Yeah,
So.
Gettysburg is usually highlighted in 5th grade, so I
Right.
didn't know.
And they're still doing that. They had about 6 choices. They just found out like right as the school year was beginning, and they're still looking at different choices for moving in the future if we can't do Kings Gap, and
Gotcha.
a couple are actually local that they're looking at.
Oh,
So
that's great.
this is what they chose to do this year, and what can accommodate
Right.
700 kids.
Right.
So.
And I think it's a great idea that it's a grade level field trip and everybody goes across the entire district, and that takes away from that some had the experience and some do not.
Right.
So,
Okay, 7.21, First Ed Credit Union naming rights proposal. Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I can give a brief overview of the proposal. As Mr. Bigger said, we are thankful to First Ed Credit Union for partnering with us. This is a 2-year proposal, advertising for them. That's $4,000 per year. That includes a sign above the student section in the Cassius Fieldhouse and an online advertisement with us. This is somewhat of a renewal. First Ed Credit Union, if you were here years ago, was actually our very first sponsor in this program. And over the years, they've had some new staff come in marketing. Would like to re-up an old agreement that we have with them. So we're very happy to partner with them and provide them with this opportunity for advertising and, of course, the money that comes back into the district for our students.
I know I've asked this question before, but I can't remember how long it's been. 6, 8 years now with naming rights. Have we revisited the rates, or have they been adjusted?
We've looked into partnering with our original firm that came in. They had given us a quote to come and look again. We just haven't gone forward with that yet, but that is one of our long-term goals, is to have them do a reassessment of everything that we have. But as we've looked at market rates, especially with some of the larger advertising that you see with billboards, we come in much cheaper than what most people would be paying for, like a digital ad for, say, even a month would come on less than what you would get in a year with, say, this agreement that we have right now. So as we're going out to advertisers, we're trying to, organizations and companies that are looking for advertisements, we show them that you can get a much bigger bang for your buck, essentially, for what we have. But we do need to look into having a reassessment of our locations compared to other similar-sized districts.
I think you reiterated my point that, prices are going up, except for naming rights, which has stayed the same. Any other questions on 7.21?
Yeah, I've got a question for Brian.
Sure.
So just thinking out loud, I see a lot of traditional billboards are going away and being replaced by digital. And is that a consideration for the future, so you get more advertisers in here and you don't need the space so much because you got one screen?
Sure. I know that there's talk right now, especially about replacing the billboard. I know Dr. Long can talk a little bit maybe about that, but there are some considerations into replacing the billboard here at the Cassius Fieldhouse. I don't know the timeline on that, but if there are digital ads there, that would be something that we could incorporate into this program for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, Mr. Miller? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approve items 7.06, 7.07, and 7.16 through 7.21. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. And again, I'll make a comment about this when we get to information, just to follow up, but I don't want to hijack the agenda. Going to Section 10, Policy and Legislation, 10.01, first reading of Policy 304, Employment of District Staff. This is what we spoke about a month ago when we had extended the previous privilege we had given to the superintendent, and just going to make it policy so that this doesn't have to be an ongoing continuation. So it's a first reading, just information. 10.02, second reading, Policy 2.37, Electronic Communication Devices. This one we will vote on. It's a second reading. So do we have a motion for approval of Policy 237?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gogler, second by Mrs. Gauss. Questions, discussions, or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to my fellow board member there, Mr. Mike Hayda, for bringing this book to my attention, and then of course Ms. Culler, if you haven't read it, The Anxious Generation, I got it on. I haven't been reading a whole lot lately, but I've got a Audible account, and it's some really good information. And I'm not done with it, but it's really eye-opening. To be honest with you, I was not necessarily in favor of it at the onset, but after hearing some of the stuff that's in some of the data and some of the studies and stuff that's going on, and I believe that this is, if you have Audible, I believe is it free? Is the book? I think I got it on my Audible account for free, so you may want to look into it. But it was a really good so far, the information, everything that I've been getting from it. So I would suggest leaning into it. So yeah.
Others, questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, we have a motion and second. All those in favor, approval of Policy 237, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. Next item, 10.03, also a second reading, so we will be voting of new policy 815.3, Artificial Intelligence, AI. Motion and a second, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Diller, second by Mr. Walker. Questions, comments, discussions? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved. So with that, we are going to have a couple items to talk about in information, but for that, officially the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. I think at our COW, let's talk about this at a COW, how we want to do this at our next meeting. Great discussion, a lot of questions, some good information brought up by administration. So ultimately, there's certain items that are going to pop up between the COW and the board meeting that we're going to have to do this. But yeah, whether we put it in a separate consent agenda item or if we need to keep them separately. Just something, food for thought for the board to think about. Love to hear more of your thoughts about that at our COW meeting. But, again, it's items that we have to vote on. We need to have a discussion. We need to do it in public. But how we can facilitate that maybe more efficiently with COW versus board meeting. And some of it is just timing related. I get it.
And just to give them a little more lead time, we do have two new administrators that are in the room. So we have, welcome back, Jen Preisler. She will be at Cassius, and then Trish Thomas will be at CMS and also attended. So thank you for coming to your first board meeting as an administrator.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Who's the second one
Okay. Steph or Mike, who would like to go first? So,
You do it all, I'm just
so
gonna sit here like this.
maybe, Chris, do you want to give the introduction about the
Sure.
trip and then?
Sure, they need more think time, right?
They're gonna pay.
Oh, Mike, go Mike, you go.
They're gonna play rock, paper, scissors
You
to
go,
see who
Mike.
goes first.
I have every confidence you'll capture it.
I'm only capturing the things that I want to capture, so. One is, many people will look at the Ignite School in Kentucky as an overnight success, but like all things, it was a 6-year effort from inception to fruition. And I think it has a lot of similarities with our plans for the future. And I think that that kind of effort requires 3 Ps. One, a plan, which we're developing. The other is patience, especially by the public, the community, and persistence to just keep pushing this thing through till we get it to the end. The briefings that we received were awesome. One thing that really impressed me was the school and the workforce development community. Those agencies are really closely coupled. And this close alignment results in students that are graduating with the kind of high demand, labor-ready skills so that they can enter the workforce and assume high-paying jobs. And I say high-paying. I'm a little worried that our community development agencies around here are only interested in getting jobs. And I think we have plenty of forklift operators and clerks at Rutgers and all these other jobs. I'm hoping that they start to invite some more high-tech industries into the area so that we have high-paying jobs that can support a family. The other thing that impressed me was my tour guide. The students there are the tour guides. So each student is assigned like one guest. I think there were 16 of us. There were only like 4 from our district, but and my tour guide was a young man named Adam. And it's funny because Chris said to me, Adam's the tour guide I had when I was here a few months ago, and, what'd you think? I said, he was great. So I got to talk to Adam, and it was an awesome tour, but at the end, we had kind of an out-briefing among ourselves, and Chris asked me, he said, how do you think Adam would fit in a traditional high school? My first reaction was, he'd be hurt. He'd be bullied. He'd be verbally abused. You know, when you see a kid that's kind of vulnerable in that way, you know what might happen to him in a traditional high school. But Adam is studying to be an engineer. Now, I know a young man in our community that reminds me of Adam. My Adam works at the Giant as a clerk. I'm hoping that as we develop our program that we're teaching our Adams to be engineers or doctors or teachers, not just forklift drivers or pickers and packers in a warehouse. It was an awesome visit. I can see how Chris and the rest of the staff would be inspired, and I was too. And so thanks for the opportunity. She doesn't need notes.
Actually, I didn't know we were going to be talking about this tonight, so as most of my life, I'll wing it. See how I do.
We're going to have to separate you two. Carl, you're going to have to switch seats next week.
It was
He's an umpire, not a referee.
That's right. That's right. I was very happy that I was allowed to go on the trip. I am a business owner. I have a machine shop with my father in Greencastle. It's been there since the 80s when my grandfather started it. When he passed away several years ago, my dad and I took over. So I saw the school from a little bit of a different perspective. I saw what I wish we would have had when 10 years ago we could have really made a different decision as far as the outcome of our business. Our workforce is significantly older. My dad is he's the third youngest and he's 60. So it's one of those things where you think, man, that would have been awesome to have here 10 years ago, and we could have taken our business in a totally different direction, maybe grown a little bit. But it's almost like, if I can simplify it, and this is don't hold me to this, but if you took the magnet school and you took career tech and they had a baby, that would be kind of like the Ignite school, because it's got the educational part of it that you're looking for, and then it has your more technical side of it, but they do it all year long. It's not half and half. They're there all 4 years of their secondary education, and they are, in this case, they're broken into 6 what they call colleges. So you have a design college, and then you'll have a robotics college, you'll have an allied health college, which would be like your health field nurses, CNAs, things like that. And so they stick in those colleges as long as they want to, and then you're with the same group of instructors your entire time there. So you would have 6, they do 6 colleges, and they happen to have 6 staff members in those colleges. So all of the 6 staff members, and please correct me if I'm wrong, stay with that same set of kids in those colleges for their entire time. And I feel like that is beneficial, because the relationships that you can build being that close to someone for that long a period of time, the trust, and you can see it. The tour guides took us around the students, and you could see between students and teachers, or students and teachers, or they even called them like they were the employees and the teachers were their bosses, because they do a lot of collaborative stuff. It's not, we're all sitting in a row, we're all sitting in a room, lecture, lecture, lecture. It's collaboration, projects, hands-on. And to be able to build those relationships, one of the teachers even told us, Mike, I think you were there for that, she knows her students' brother, sister. When there's problems at home, the student comes in and they're a little bit off, and they can just tell right away. And I think that having that environment is extremely helpful, because when you're in a school system, a school district as big as this, teachers would love to do that. I believe that they would, but there's not the time, because there's so many kids that you're trying to educate and trying to do. So I really appreciated that aspect of it. And the other thing is, these kids are coming out with, some of them are dual enrolled, so they come out and they only need to go to school for 2 more years to college, and then they have their bachelor's degree. Some of them coming out with an associate's degree, with accreditations, with certifications, and they can go straight into jobs. And so I think that where we are in Franklin County, and the amount of worldwide leaders we have in some industries around here, you're looking at the Manitowocks, the JLGs, Volvos, Johnson Controls, and those are more of the labor intensive, but a lot of that's moving to automation. This would be a wonderful setup to be able to enhance the programming that we can do here, because Chris has said frequently, 300 to 500 kids want to get into CMS and career tech and they can't. I believe the assistant director of career tech said they have a waiting list of 600 kids. Those are kids that would want to come and do something. And the thing that struck me, and I'll end with this, I had a girl, Katie, and then another girl came up that was doing another tour, and she said that she's been there for 3 years, she's seen 1 fight. And it was a shove because some boy touched another boy's girlfriend or something simple like that. And I believe it's because when you get kids motivated about something they're passionate about, all of that drama is irrelevant, because they have a plan, they have a goal, they can see it, they're there with like-minded kids that all have that same goal of what are we doing in 4 years from now. And it was just it's such an inspiration, and I know the practicality of it as far as building and all of this and all of that. I understand all of that, but just in a perfect world, you would be able to go, okay, we're going to buy them all, and we're making an Ignite Institute, and that's how it's going to be. because I really think that Franklin County, and not just Chambersburg, but there were superintendents from other districts that in this county that are very excited about the potential of what an Ignite type school could bring to this community. So thank you very much for the opportunity to go.
Just for myself, thanks for the transition to all those who attended. Waynesboro, Tuscarora, Greencastle could not attend, but they wanted to. We had the LIU Educational Services Director. We had the Assistant Director from Franklin County Career Tech. We had 2 architects, and we did have representatives from WellSpan and Keystone Health and a technology department of GDC. So it was really interesting on this trip to broaden the group beyond just employees, and the same reaction, the same response, to the point I have a meeting with the director of Franklin County Career Tech and the assistant director this week, because they want to talk about next steps. And so did Waynesboro and Tuscarora. So there certainly is momentum and movement, and now it's time to be persistent and have a plan. So we are excited. I'm excited. A second visit for me affirmed some items and also allowed me to dig a little deeper into the schedule. If we did one more trip, I would want to talk to teachers. Both trips, we didn't spend a lot of time talking to teachers. I would want to do one trip where we take our teachers out and, okay, you go at it. Well, we heard the students, we heard the admin. What do the teachers do every day? What's their job like? How is their workload, and how do they deliver on such a quality school? So very excited, very appreciative of the support to go. So looking forward to continuing this conversation. If other board members have questions of the folks who went on the trip, you know, we're not going to do a formal presentation, but feel free to ask away.
I'd just like to say that some of what you have described has been in Franklin County for the since 1969 at the Career Tech School. Tammy can speak more personally to it, but I know my husband had that same relationship with students for the 14 years that he taught there, where he knew his students for the 3 years that they were there. They were almost like his kids. Sometimes he even referred to them in that way, and they to him. And so I see, or at least I hear what you're saying as being what we already have, the same way with tour guides. You know, the Career Tech School has a small amount of what you are doing. I think it's a way bigger endeavor than what we've had, but I often refer to our Career Tech program as the best kept secret in Franklin County, because people don't know what goes on out there.
The one thing I will say in response to that is, it is my belief, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that if we are to move forward with an Ignite Academy, it will in no way diminish or compete with the Career Tech at all. It will just, I think it will be other opportunities in different fields that maybe are a little more future, like thinking about future jobs, not necessarily what we have here now. So I just want to make that clear, that it would not be this or that, one better than the other. That's not it. It would be collaborative. And that's the vibe that I got. And even the representative from Career Tech, I think she was disabused of any fear that there might have been collectively about that potential.
Yep, ditto and amen. Yep.
Okay. Hearing none. Those of you who are going to homecoming parade and powder puff, enjoy.
All right.
Thank you.
What is this?